When I talked about what had happened to me on the TV, all of a sudden, I'd be walking down the street and a lady would come up to me and go, "Oh, my goodness, it happened to me." Or I'd be in the supermarket and all of a sudden, I was inundated with emails.
If people didn't see that show, you were abused by a family member.
That's right, at the age of 13 years old. I thought I was on my own, and I thought it just happened in my culture, and it was just Asian men that did this. But actually, it happens across all cultures. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, it affects everybody. And when I had everybody come to me, I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, I had all of their issues, and it was really quite traumatic for me. And I thought, you know, what can I do? I didn't know who to phone, a charity. And luckily, this week, I've phoned up a charity called NAPAC. They provide emotional support.
So this is the National Association for People Abused in Childhood.
That's right. And they are amazing. They're a very small charity. And I picked up the phone and I talked to them for 30 minutes about what had happened to me. At the end of that 30 minutes, the person said to me, "You're a survivor, and I think you're in a good place now." And I talked about my family and my kids, and that's what I've always wanted. And they can really assess after 30 minutes whether you need further help or whether actually you've dealt with it with your own coping mechanisms, and that you can live with it, and you're okay. I've never thought of myself as a survivor, but from the age of 13 years old, I've kept that a secret. I felt guilty, I felt ashamed, I felt dirty, I felt people wouldn't believe me, I felt culturally bound. The way it affected me, I couldn't be in a room with Asian men by myself. I actually went out of my culture to marry somebody who wasn't Asian. That's how much it can affect the rest of your life. But what I will say is that there is support out there. I feel like I don't need any further help. I've dealt with it, but that talking to somebody for 30 minutes on the phone, and they're trained to give you that assurance that they're listening to you without any judgment, no fear.
And they would like us, NAPAC are very keen for us to say it is completely confidential.
Yeah.
Because I think there might be people that say, "Oh, no, well, I don't want it all dragged up again. I don't want to have to go to court. I don't want to have to,
That's right.
kind of...
drag it all
up through a court."
Yeah,
and they said, it is completely confidential. The only exception would be if they were hearing about an adult who they believed was still at risk, of harming another child or an adult. They would have to tell the police, but you still wouldn't have to be involved.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to be named, and if you didn't want to take it any further, you wouldn't. I said earlier that 3 of the women, out of the 4 of us women on the panel, had suffered sexual abuse. Katie, you talked about this when you did Piers Morgan's life stories, and we said you're a very strong woman, you're a very outspoken woman, and I think that was probably one of the first times I've seen you cry on TV. We've got a clip, actually, before you talk about it.
What happened to you in the pub?
Nothing. Some weirdo. Oh, you know what I'm saying? It's just some weirdo in a park.
Who abused you in some way? And you've never talked about this?
Mm-mm. Whew. And I'm not going to talk about it either.
And did you ever talk about it after that?
No, because I just feel, don't know, it's weird looking back at that. I say it hasn't affected me, but now when I look at that, it must deep down affect me, because I never cry about anything. That's the first time I've cried on telly about, obviously, that. So somewhere it must affect me, but yeah, I've never gone into actual detail about what he did.
It's interesting, Karen was saying she now believes that all, the provocative dressing and the selfies. Do you believe anything of your glamour career had anything to do with that?
I absolutely do, because, I mean, that's not the first time I've been abused either. That was just one particular incident.
Well, you were only 6 then, weren't you?
Yeah, well, 7 in the part. I remember it was in Hove. And, so I've been abused and raped since then. And I have said I've been raped, but I'm not going to say who or whatever. But I just sort of think, OK, just deal with it, get on with it. But then, because I was training to be a nurse after I left school, and then I got the opportunity to be a model. And I think the glamour side of it it's the same as you. You can be all sexy, because obviously it was for men. Me being a glamour was all portrayed for men. So it was like, you can look at me, but you can't touch me. I can say what I like, I could do what I like in picture, but I'm not away, I'm sort of protecting myself. I think it is, yeah.
Janet, just very quickly, we haven't got a lot of time left on the show, but we often say about people often don't want to come forward because they don't think they'll be believed, and that actually happened to you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did happen to me. I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mother took me to the hairdressers where we grew up in West London, and she left me there, and while I was with the hairdresser, he started to molest me, and I just sat in the chair. I was frozen, and he was cutting my hair, so I couldn't move. I mean, I was just trapped. And when I told my mother later, the hairdresser did something awful to me, she just gave me a quick slap and told me didn't believe me. And unfortunately, that's really the normal reaction. Yeah.